The bottom of the map here on Polar Night is our Protoss player currently up 2-1 in the series. It is USA 1's Shadver. Apparently also having lag issues. Hopefully not that bad. Top part of the map, we have his opponent, the Terran player supporting the pink colors. It is DaveSprite from the Day 9 Ladder Clan. So far, DaveSprite's definitely been hanging on to these incredibly aggressive plays, though it looked great in the first game. It took the first one. Second game didn't quite work out as well. And third one, there was a bit of an error. No matter what he had planned going for that game, it was going pretty far south, especially in DaveSprite's mind. So if I'm Shadver right now, I'm thinking to myself, this guy's being incredibly aggressive. I'm going to make sure I don't do anything particularly crazy and just play safe. Especially given his performance in previous show matches, I can imagine that's probably the approach he's going to be taking. So far, it seems to be the case. The other thing, though, is that it would be completely valid when you're up ahead like this to do something crazy. To do something not necessarily cheesy, because most of the cheesy stuff like 2 proxy gateways or cannon rush we'd already be seeing at start, but something like a rushed oracles or a rush to DTs, just to keep your opponent on your toes is not a bad choice. Now, I will say though that lack of so yeah, I think this is intentional what he's been doing with the gas count here. He's been allowing him to go up to 3 stalkers very quickly. The funny thing is, he hasn't grabbed that second assimilator. And usually if you go for the 3-stalker push variant, there it is. Okay, good. You do usually grab the 2. Pretty much the only build that can be done really well off of 1 gas, by the way, is a 4-gate. So if you see your opponent grab only the 1 gas and not grab the second gas, you should be a little worried. However, he could also just be bad, and he might just do anything requiring gas later. So do be on your toes, but at the same time, like, obviously don't do anything ridiculously risky, given that state. Looks like we're not seeing anything particularly problematic happen to DaveSprite this time. Barracks is up just in time, is getting a Marauder out really quickly, and looks like the factory's just about to finish. All right. So Widowmine Marauder, I guess, he wants to go for a very anti-stalker build. I guess more or less just a straight anti-stalker build is what he's trying to do here. I don't know how this works out, by the way, against this 3-stalker build. I've not really seen anyone do this before. I'm sure it's happened. I'm sure there's plenty of VODs for that, but it has not yet occurred in the show matches, so I'm very excited to see what happens. We have Marauder at the front here fighting a duel with a Stalker. The Stalker seeing very much doesn't want to keep fighting that duel. Third Stalker is going to be out in just a moment here, along with concussive shells, which should be researched fairly soon. It looks like the response from Shadver is actually to bring the Mothership Core out in the field, and I really like this for the most part. There is that Widow Mine, though, and if he places that in the right spot, he may be able to actually just straight snipe the Mothership Core, and it's kind of a risk from Shadver. Okay, the army's out there, and down goes... He's trying to plant it under the Mothership Core. Down goes the Widow Mine. Will it actually get there in time? Does make it. Takes a really bad hit on the Mothership Core. It doesn't one-shot the thing, but it gets pretty darn close. It's only got 30 health left. And this is incredibly bad for Shadver. Loses 2 Stalkers basically for free right there. Concussive shells, making them completely unable to move. The Mothership Core is going to be behind the army, and the army's going to get there at least soon enough to force some damage onto the natural, though. We've seen every single time so far, letting the natural die and getting up an army has worked very, very effectively for Shadver. So except this time DaveSprite's backing it up with a command center. So canceling this natural, very, very powerful move in this case, because he's not going completely all in. The mine dies, unfortunately, but the rest of the units present here are simply Stalkers, which are not going to be able to fight concussive shell Marauders. There is a photon overcharge having gone down, but there's not enough energy for a second one, so this base has to be canceled. There's no way he can hold that. If he tries to run out there with the Stalkers, that's not going to end well. Shadver loses one. Widowmine comes out here. Now he's actually backing up. Almost is able to shoot another one. You know what? There's actually just barely enough units that he might be able to get away with holding this position. It's going to be very, very tight, though. Any micro errors from Shadver will be punished with the immediate death of the Stalker who walks too close to that Widow Mine. That Widow Mine's basically acting like a kind of a quasi-force field right there. His scan goes down, sees what's there. Ooh, uses the probe to cancel the Widow Mine, and the army is being pushed back. Very nicely done from Shadver. Holds the army, has to run back now. The Widow Mine is still there, though. That has not been dealt with just yet. And do we have an observer? No observer. Okay. Robotics facility has only just been started. If that Widow Mine is able to sneak up into the main base, that will be really, really, really bad for our Protoss player. Oh, instead it looks like he's just going to plant it in the natural and say, no, you can't mine from here. You can't mine from here for a while. All right. Shadver looks like he's going to try and move out onto the map. There's a Marauder hanging out at the watchtower, though, which is seen the probe trying to put down a pylon. It's going to lose that. But it looks like we have a wall. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, the Protoss isn't going to break through that. 3 mines set up. 3 bunkers. Oof. I think DaveSprite's actually set up a very nice position for himself going from here. If he can keep the macro up and keep everything nice and smooth from this point on, I think he should be able to take a very nice advantage here. That said, most of his units so far do not have anti-air. Anything that the Mothership Core tries to accomplish, it's going to be pretty hard to deal with. Mothership Core can actually beat Marines one-on-one pretty easily. So, looks like, yeah, it's not going to go for that. Makes sense. Presence of Widow Mines, he'd be worried about losing it. Does have the Observer now, so he has cleaned that up. He's going to be able to start mining from this natural, but the Terran has a significant lead on that, already having both gases and 7 more SCVs mining from that location. Starport's starting the reactor. It's going to be seeing that drop tech come out pretty soon here. And this is a tough situation. Shadver needs to do something to claw himself back into this, whether that's a fast third that he tries to hide out there, which I don't think I'd favor too much given the aggressive nature of my opponent. Could try to go for a tech advantage, and I think that's what we're seeing here in the form of Colossus. If you can get enough of these up, it can enable the possibility of a timing push, but it's gonna be difficult, and if DaveSprite spots it, it's not gonna work. He's gonna be able to have more than enough Vikings up in time. So have to wait and see. Nomad apparently letting us know that invisible units cast a shadow. You know what? I don't know if it casts a shadow for the opponent. As an observer, I can't really tell that, though, because I don't know if that's actually built into, like, the first-person perspective view. In any case, it's not exactly relevant, as here comes a drop. What looks like a bunch of Widow Mines. It's going to drop them all here, which is a bit of a surprise. That's going to kill the worker line. Pretty much does a good job of that. Unfortunately, he does lose the medevac on top of that. That's a total of 9 workers killed by our Terran player. Pretty expensive kill, not the most efficient thing in the world, but he is extending his main advantage, which is economy right now, and he's seen, more importantly, the Colossus tech. He's able to start getting that Viking count up, and the thing is, since our Protoss player is on 2 base, going into a second piece of tech is going to be very difficult. All he can really do is not go as hard into the Colossus so that the investment into the Vikings is not as helpful. But if he tries to go down the Twilight tech path, it's going to take a lot of gas and a lot of time that he doesn't really have. And you can see he's already starting to move out in the map. I don't think he's going to be able to do much other than posture in front of the Terran base, though. Not with this. Even with range, once that's done to Colossus, all he can really do is poke at the bunkers from a distance. If he gets too far close, the Vikings will kill the Colossus, though. And here we go. It's time for the engagement. Stalkers running to the front here. They can't get too close. Got to be careful those Vikings. Don't want to accidentally lose them to the Stalkers. Trying to move forward and engage, and both players basically taking pot shots at each other. That siege tank is going to help out a lot. The Stalkers can't get anywhere near close enough to harm the bunkers, and it's enough to convince Shadver that losing this army would not be a good move. So it's time to go back home. Well, anyway, while we're going to kill time here for a minute while we wait for the next important thing to happen, it looks as if Shadver's just saying, you know what, fine. You countered my Colossus. I'm going to grab High Templar, charge, and start the next branch of the tech tree. I was going to say Zealot Archon, but it's not necessarily the case. You might just go for Storm from there. And I got to say, the Hellbats are a nice choice. Actually do very, very, very well against Charge-a-lots. Especially with that Blue Flame upgrade. They become Imbehelians. I know, they're not necessarily imbalanced, but I'm referring back to the days of yore when they basically started with Blue Flame. Scan reveals the presence of a third base attempt by Shadver, and this is going to be really bad for our Protoss player. This is a very large window of time here where DaveSprite can kind of just walk over and cancel that and leave. Storm is going to be probably our comeback spell for our Protoss player. If he can get the sickest storms, he can potentially do a lot to this army. But the thing is, Storm is actually not so great against things with that much health. So it's not going to be the ticket to victory that it was, say, in their first show match. If I remember correctly, it became Shadver's way of getting back into the game. Against this army, don't think it's going to do it. There's no immortals in that army. All these Hellbats are going to be incredibly effective against what's here. Storm is going to finish, but it's not going to be in time to save the space, which unfortunately has finished and cannot be canceled. Oof. Siege tanks now in position at the back, and the army's moving forward to get to work on the base. Shadver is moving out now to the ramp. We'll see if he actually tries to engage this army to protect the base. Even if he tries, he can't save it. He's lost that. Out comes the Storm, and it does a decent amount of damage, but really not all that much, not compared to the amount that he's taken. The Zealots are gone, the Colossus are gone, the Stalkers are gone, and no matter how good Storm is, it's not going to win you a game by itself. Down go the High Templar next. Trying to warp in some Zealots, but Zealots are just... they're a last-ditch effort by dying Protoss here. As there's the GG. Well played. Very nicely done from DaveSprite. I'm making it happen. I like it, Fade.